What happens when electricity is gone? Now, you all sit here in a theater. It's a space which is arranged. There's lights, there's sound, there's everything that suits you to be comfortable to watch the show. Probably most of you have a mobile phone in their pockets, which with normal mobile phones today, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you actually start looking for sockets. Where can I charge my phone? Because it's empty. So we're surrounded with electricity everywhere we are. If you want to say it like this, it's the foundation of society as we know it today. And the interesting thing is, if you start thinking about electricity, you know what it is, you suddenly realize the more you think about it, the less you really know. I have a professional background as an artist, and I've been working all my professional life. I've been working with lots of machinery, with computers, with everything, with lights, everything that uses electricity. At some point, I sat back and asked myself, where does it actually come from? What is this strange thing? And I started thinking about it. And indeed, the more you think about it, the less you know. So you remember maybe from school time, there's plus, there's minus, and then there's these electrons wandering around, and that's basically it. So you actually, you're sort of losing it. You don't really know what it is in the end. And I asked myself, how come this? How come I know so few things about the one natural phenomena that is the basic of life in itself? If you do this, you're using electricity. Your body works with electricity. And I wondered, how come I don't know such a lot? And I thought, what was the first thing when I got to know about electricity? Because we all know the first impression you get from something when you meet something new, either somebody or something, the first 10 seconds, that's where you decide if you like it or if you don't like it. Remember, what was the first thing I learned about electricity? It was fear. Somebody telling you when you were a child, don't put your finger in the socket or you die. That was basically what you grew up with for a couple of years. Every time you had something with electricity, somebody told you, no, don't touch it. This might be dangerous. There's this lurking force in the wall. You can't see it. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. Don't touch it. It's dangerous. Stay away. And that's a bit awkward if you want to have a positive relationship with something. And you grow up, you have things about like the electric chair. Then you have the Zeus throwing down lightning that strikes people, and you had all sorts of different things happening to you. And this wasn't always the case. In the beginning, in the 18th century, when people sort of developed things that tried to tackle electricity, when it was all new, people liked to play around, like childs. You discover something new. That was one of the first experiments where they put a woman on a pedestal, and they charged her with small amounts of static electricity, and when she kissed somebody, there were small sparks flying, which is quite the opposite of fear. It's something nice, it's something positive, it's something you want to do. And there were people traveling around. They were something called electrifiers, and they were somewhere between magicians and scientists. They traveled from village to village and did experiments like this, trying to involve people into electricity. So, when I had my moment of enlightenment, it was on one of those festivals you see there. That is the Wacken Open Air Festival. It's a heavy metal festival in Germany. Approximately 80,000 people go there every year. Quite some of them have long hair and quite funny beards. And they listen to music. So it's in a way, it's like the land of milk and honey. You go there, you have music, you have friends, you have sound, everything is there. And you just feel good for a couple of days, and they're actually building whole cities for 80,000 people right in the middle of nowhere. And this is actually quite an old picture. So today, if you're standing in front of the stage, you don't see so much of the stage. You see everybody, holding up his or her mobile phone and trying to record what's happening on stage. I don't know who's ever going to look at all these videos. It probably means that every concert you are at, you can watch from 1,000 perspectives later on and spend the rest of your life just watching one concert. But still, if you're on the festival, you're using your mobile phone all the time. And probably with today's actual smartphones, after day 2, you meet the icon of doom, which is this. It happens, You're in the middle of civilization on a music festival, suddenly your smartphone is empty. What do? You actually start looking for a socket. It's easy when you're at home, it's easy when you're at a hotel. If you're on a music festival with maybe 200,000 other visitors, there's no public infrastructure that allows you to charge your phone. So you're running around like an electric nomad trying to find, give me a socket. Where's the next socket? Having your mobile phone and your adapter, and there's none. So the socket actually becomes like the holy grail, you know, everybody wandering around trying to plug themselves into whatever stall is there. And you start making promises to the god, you know, give me power and I stop smoking. Just charge my mobile phone, please, I'll do everything. And I had a vision. When I was standing there on that festival, I had a vision. I was thinking about Zeus, you know, in his chariot running across the sky, looking down at people and sometimes smiting them with lightning. And I thought, okay, what we need is something to travel from this big event from one to the next, like the electrifiers did in the 18th centuries, generate electricity on site and charge mobile phones as one. So I got together a team of electricians, technicians. Remember, I'm an artist. I have no idea about technology. So I got a very, very precise team of professionals on board. And we built this. This is a bit like a chariot. This is actually what it looks like when we're traveling around. When you actually put it up, it looks like this. That's the electrical tail. It's a converted 1960s Airstream trailer, an oldie, if you want to put it like this, highly polished. And it generates electricity by means of wind, solar power, and we have a small little water turbine, and we charge electric devices on these festivals. So you come there like you would check into a hotel, only you don't check in yourself, but you check in your mobile phone, or whatever you have, it's on there. You'd be amazed what people carry onto these festivals. So you just check it in, come back 2 hours later, and it's charged just by renewable energy. And there's a bit more, because what interests me is not really charging the phones, it's trying to raise awareness about electricity. So we constructed something like a flying circus. We have lots of modules where people can generate their own electricity. They can sit on bikes and just pedal on. They can pump water in the big water pumping stations, and we have other devices that allow people to get into touch with electricity, get involved, just like the children start playing with it and do something nice with it. And I'd like to invite you to follow me to the Shambhala Festival, where we went last year, and have a quick look of what it looks like in reality. So we are replacing fear with fun. Right? People actually start getting interested into what this is. They start to ask questions. You know, how much is 10 watts? How much is 100 watts? How come I can maybe charge my phone with one of those bikes, but I can't change a hairdryer or whatever uses huge amounts of electricity? So you're engaging them, but not with a raised moral finger. You don't go around telling people what to do and what not to do, but just by engaging them and involving them in something nice. You're actually reaching them on a very different level. And because this is all about being happiness and business, you're actually engaging them into something that is useful to them. And charging a mobile phone in a place where there's nothing else is obviously quite useful to them. So when we travel on the festivals, we're turning back this land of milk and honey, which became a desert if you're looking for power. We're suddenly returning it into the land of milk and honey, and it means that just by being there and by charging phones, we're trying to get the message across. You know, go home and think a little bit about electricity because it's really worthwhile. And if you carry on thinking it, I mean, there is places like music festival, like this is the Glastonbury Festival, big festival in the UK. There's other places on this planet where the difference between having no electricity and having more small amounts of electricity, which is quite easy to gather on a bike or on small other things, like think about disaster relief camps, think about other places where the amount of electricity that is needed is not a lot, but the actual means of getting it there is not an easy task, and is just referring by using muscle power, it makes all the difference. So what's up when there is no electricity? Thank you.